My name is Rusty. I'm a 25-year-old male. This story takes place back in my home country of Puerto Rico, in the city of Mayagüez in 2015, on Halloween night. I had just turned 18 at the time, and was starting college. For privacy reasons, I'll be changing the names of those who were involved in this story. Me and my friends, Justin and Chris, were in the mood to go to nightclubs to celebrate Halloween. A wise man once said, "Halloween is much better when you're an adult." And my friends and I were determined to make that quote a reality, and had been planning this night weeks in advance. Halloween came around, and everything went as planned, and we had an amazing time. Watching everybody have fun and drinking in their costumes really puts you into the Halloween spirit. That's tantamount to achieving something, because that feeling is usually reserved for small children. The clubs here shut down at around 2 a.m., but me and my friends were still in the mood to have some fun, so we decided to go to a gas station and grab some booze. After a few beers, I came up with a brilliant idea to explore this old abandoned house that wasn't far away from where we were. We were all drunk at this point, and decided to go before the night ended. For the record, this is not a paranormal story, but I might as well give you the context of why we wanted to check out the house. There is a local legend in this town, the House of the Mustang. There are many versions of this story. I'll tell you the one that I'm most familiar with. In the 1970s, a husband, wife, and their 2 daughters were going through a rough time financially. One night, when the wife and daughters were gone, the husband decided to use black magic to make a deal with the devil in exchange for fortune to help his family. After that night, the family's hardships faded away. However, as time went on, the family began to experience paranormal events in the house. Shadowy apparitions would come to visit them at night. There were multiple disturbances around the house without any rational explanation, and from time to time, demonic laughter could be heard, echoing through the house. One night, the family's Mustang suddenly burst into flames, which caught the house on fire, nearly burning it to the ground. It is unclear if the family survived the house fire or not. The property has been put up for sale several times, but because many of the people here believe this place is cursed, it sits empty, withering away from years of neglect. Neighbors claim that sometimes during the night, they can hear children screaming as if they were being burned alive. They claim that mysterious shadow figures appear in the windows, and even hear the engine of the old Mustang revving up. There are rumors that many people have tried to remove the old, damaged car, but to no avail. Every time they do, power tools stop working, and even the tow trucks malfunction. It's happened so many times that they simply stopped trying to remove it, and no one could ever explain what caused this strange activity. Also, anyone who has tried to take anything from the house is said to experience severe misfortune in their lives. I was telling this story to my friends during the ride there, and we eventually came upon the house. The only way inside was by opening the garage gate where the old burnt-out Mustang was. We wasted no time exploring the home. After about 10 to 15 minutes, we decided to just chill on the second floor near a window and finish off the beers we had. We were planning to stay only a half hour or so, because we didn't want to be busted for trespassing. When we headed downstairs to leave, we saw a group of people heading toward the house. At first we thought they wanted to come and check out the house as well, but things escalated when we saw that they were carrying pistols. Through the window we saw another group of people approaching the house. Damn, why are there so many people coming here? Well, maybe this could be a drug deal, and we're just caught in the crossfire. Can you 2 dipshits speak any louder? They're going to hear us. Our suspicion was confirmed. The 2 groups were gang members, making a drug deal behind the garage gates. After a few minutes of hearing my own heartbeat, the unthinkable happened. one of the gang members spotted us looking through the window. Some of them ran away, however 2 of them came after us and ran inside the house. We had only a few seconds to react. Suddenly Justin remembered he had a couple of flash bombs in his pocket. They were fireworks that made a huge boom along with a bright flash, enough to disorient you for a short time. If we used them at the right moment, we could make it out of this alive. They were inside the house now. We ran down a narrow hallway and hid in the bathroom at the end. As soon as we heard them coming down that same hallway, Justin lit the flash bombs and rolled them outside the bathroom door. He had timed this perfectly. The gang members weren't ready when the flash bomb went off, and it gave us just enough time to push past them and flee the house. Unfortunately for us, Chris parked a few blocks away to avoid being caught. So we ran as fast as we could, but the gang members were now right behind us, and they were pissed off that we had outmaneuvered them by using fireworks. In a split-second decision, we decided to split up. Chris ran off to hide somewhere, while Justin and I decided to hide behind a parked car and a few trash cans. We were crouched down, trying to be as quiet as possible. We soon heard the gang members approaching. "Shit, they're getting closer," Justin whispered. However, by God's grace, a patrolling police car came down the street. The gang members immediately ran off. Justin and I stayed hidden for a few more minutes, just to make sure that everyone was gone. We then got up and ran to Chris's car. Chris was already there with the engine running, so we just hopped in and booked it out of there. I was still scared out of my mind. We could have been killed, or worse. The criminal activity in Mayaguez is pretty severe. One of the residential areas is known for being one of the most dangerous places on the whole island. Even today, it's still a big problem in the community. This all happened almost 8 years ago, and I'm still very good friends with Justin and Chris. Chris joined the Marines in 2018, and Justin is about to join the military. I'm not too far behind. I'm planning on joining the Air Force and studying for my master's degree in criminology. Justin and I are planning to celebrate Halloween one more time before we part ways, but obviously we plan on being more responsible this time around. The house still stands to this day, with the husk of the Mustang still sitting in its driveway. I think it's best for people to just stay away from that place. When it's not being haunted by evil spirits, it's being haunted by gang members and drug deals. Anyways, thanks for listening to my story, and I wish all of you a very happy Halloween. Stay safe. My husband and I have lived in our house for just over 20 years. We are located in a small town, so we know most of the people in this area. Sometimes trick-or-treating in our town falls on a different night from Halloween. When this happens, we usually get a lot of out-of-towners coming through. My husband and I have a small fire pit on wheels and have made it a tradition to have a fire going during trick-or-treating in case people need to warm themselves up. Here in Ohio, it can get pretty chilly in October. My husband tends to the fire, while I pass out the candy and make small talk with the people we know and give my feedback on their costumes. One Halloween night, our town had a lot of trick-or-treaters. We were ready though, and we had plenty of candy to pass out, and things were going relatively well. Parents were coming up with their children. I would give them candy, and my husband kept the fire stoked and made friendly chit-chat with folks as they warmed themselves before going back out into the cold night. Suddenly, from the direction of our neighbor's house across the street, a young boy in a Red Ranger costume came sprinting as fast as he could. He looked to be about 5, maybe 6 years old. I thought the little guy was just excited for some candy. As I reached out to give it to him, he darted right past me and stopped about an inch from the fire pit. He then said in a slow, strange, monotone voice, "I want to be in it." My husband and I looked at each other. Did we just hear what we think we heard? The boy was mesmerized by the flames. It was like something in the fire was calling to him. As the kid began to lean over into the fire, a man who I assumed was the boy's father grabbed him by the shoulders and backed him away from the fire pit. "Whoa, buddy. What did we tell you about going near fires?" It was as if this wasn't the first time this kid had tried to go into the fire. They walked away and went on to the next house, but my husband and I couldn't help but think that we had just witnessed a future serial arsonist. We didn't recognize them, so we assumed that they were out-of-towners, and we hoped that's where they stayed, out of town. To this day, we still have fires on Halloween night. However, we now have a caged fire pit with a lid. That way, nothing but fire can be in it. This happened last year on Halloween. I was 18 back then, and my best friend Andrew was 17. We both thought at the time that we were too old for trick-or-treating, and we also didn't like the idea of handing out candy. However, there was this old abandoned house in my neighborhood that I wanted to go explore. Andrew did not think it was a good idea, but I sort of pressured him into joining me. "Don't be such a candy ass, bro. We have to do something on Halloween." We waited until it was trick-or-treating time before heading out to the house with our flashlights. Along the way, I noticed all the kids trick-or-treating, and I felt like gagging. For some reason, a part of me always hated Halloween, and I never understood why. Maybe it was because I thought that Halloween was just stupid. But the idea of exploring an old abandoned house on Halloween night sounded like fun. I didn't know this place's backstory, but the entire first floor was essentially a junkyard, and a few of the windows had boards over them.
Maybe we should just leave. I don't want to spend the night in jail.
Would you stop being such a coward? We're here to have some fun.
We could pick up some kind of disease or walk in on some homeless guy jerking off. That doesn't sound like fun to me.
You're just being paranoid, Andrew. Tell you what, we'll leave at the first sign of trouble, okay?
Alright.
Without another word, we went up to the front door. I was half expecting the door to be locked, but it turned and slowly creaked open. Andrew and I looked at each other.
I don't have a good feeling about this. If it's unlocked, someone could be squatting up there.
When do you have a good feeling about anything? Come on, we can't back out now. Even I was starting to get a bit creeped out at this point. As we entered, we turned on our flashlights and made our way down the hallway before coming to a staircase.
I'm gonna go upstairs.
Oh, so you're into it now, huh?
No. I'm just hoping it smells better up there.
Okay, I'm gonna check things out down here a bit more, and then I'll join you. Andrew disappeared up the stairs. I then walked into an empty room, wondering why this space wasn't cluttered with junk like the rest of the house, when suddenly, I heard a loud noise behind me. I ran out into the hallway. "Andrew?" But I got no response. However, I did see something moving at the end of the hallway, but when I aimed my flashlight toward it, it was gone. I was freaked out a bit more than I cared to admit. However, I noticed an area at the end of the hallway. It looked like a kitchen. I decided that I would check out this area first, before I went upstairs to join Andrew. I poked my head into the kitchen, and there was nothing of interest, just more junk strewn about the room. I then stepped on something that almost caused my foot to slip out from under me. I moved back and looked down. There was a big kitchen knife, the kind that Michael Myers would use. I went to go pick it up and then decided that I shouldn't touch it. I then started wondering why this shiny new knife was inside this abandoned dump. I didn't want to think about the implications, so I headed out of the kitchen and toward the staircase. When I got to the landing, I heard a loud scream. It was Andrew. Andrew, are you okay? I ran up the stairs to see what was going on, but when I got to where the screaming was coming from, it was too dark to see inside. I stood in the doorway and used my flashlight to scan the room. I then saw Andrew sitting in the corner of the room, scared to death. That's when I noticed that there was someone else in the room. Hey, get the fuck away from him, I shouted. The figure turned toward me. What I saw on my beam was a very tall man wearing a Michael Myers mask. The figure just stared at me, their breath muffled by the latex mask. I knew that what I was about to do was a stupid idea, but it was the only thing I could think of. Andrew, run! I shouted as I threw my flashlight as hard as I could at the person, pegging them directly in the face. I heard them grunting in pain as Andrew and I ran downstairs. We then heard someone shouting,
"Motherfucker! You broke my nose!"
We didn't look back as we ran out of the house, not stopping until we were down the street. I was bent over, breathing heavily. I hadn't run that fast in a long time. Andrew then pulled out his phone.
Fucking shit! I'm calling the cops.
No, don't do that. We would be on the hook for trespassing and assault.
But that asshole threatened to kill me before you got there.
It would be your word against his. Plus, my parents would be seriously pissed off if we got in trouble. Let's just get the fuck out of here. We then headed back to my house. Once we settled in, I grabbed my laptop and started looking up stuff about the old house. But I couldn't find anything. Whoever that person was probably using that house as a hideout. Andrew and I decided that we weren't going to do anything crazy this Halloween, and are content with helping our parents hand out candy. Hey everyone, it's your Uncle Unit. Thanks for stopping by and checking out my Halloween special. This happens to be the only video on YouTube where you'll hear Let's Read say,
Walking on some homeless guy jerking off.
That's gotta be worth at least a thumbs up. Speaking of which, big thanks to Let's Read for appearing in that last story. His contribution was brief, but memorable. And I know there's usually a bonus story tacked on at the end of my Halloween specials, but unfortunately, I didn't have time to record one this year. However, I did post something on my second channel that I think you'll find interesting if you're a fan of the Halloween movies. I'll leave a link at the end of this video. And on that note, happy Halloween. You'll be hearing from me soon. But until then, never forget.
Fuck this cowboy shit! You fucking ho dunk, po dunk, well then there, motherfuckers!